Good evening, friends. I'm really sorry I was not able to upload any videos in the recent times due to busy schedule. Today I have brought a very good topic for you. This is called a trade by war to trade war. Recently you might have heard in the news that Trump has increased the tariff on the Chinese products, and that has initiated one thing that is called trade war. Now, we will discuss that thing, that's okay. We will discuss what is trade war. But let us discuss how the world economic system, world trade has changed from trade by war to the trade war. Let us discuss that thing. See, in the simple terms, if I will talk about World War II. After World War II, it was the emergence of newly independent countries. Before that period, there was trade by war. How? This was the era of colonization. This was the era of imperialism. This was the era of trade rivalries. I will start from the beginning. See, the example of industrial revolution in Britain. Britain got the first industrial revolution in the 18th and the 19th century, and it had dominated the international trade. And when you will see, Britain had imperialized the countries like US, the countries previous US, the countries like India, China, yes, Australia, yes, and slowly after Britain, other countries like France and US after American Revolution, US, they started taking control of the various countries because they wanted to promote trade. Let's take the example of India. Now in India, you might have heard that the Britain has taken the control and they used to import the cheap raw materials so that they can export cheap finished products. That is why it was a kind of trade war. But they have got this opportunity after doing colonization in India. You might have heard about Battle of Buxar, Battle of Plassey and all those things. In the same way, when you talk about China, there was Opium War. Opium War. In 1850s and all those things. And this was also a period when we had rivalries. For example, Anglo-French rivalries. Anglo-French rivalries. We have seen that how it had affected India also. Yes, there was Anglo-Dutch rivalry. The war of succession in Hyderabad and all those reasons. We have discussed that how England and France were in the opposite directions, and they fought in India also and throughout the globally. This was the 7 Years' Wars and all those things. You might have heard all those things in the history chapter. Now, Anglo-Dutch rivalry, you might have heard about the Batavian trade, that how after the Anglo-Dutch rivalry ended, that how the Britishers have taken control of the Indian trade and the Dutch have moved towards the Indonesian region. Yes, it was this period. And also the rivalries started among Germany, Russia, etc. That means all those countries, they wanted to get the benefit of trade by doing war. And that is why this was the era of, if you want to promote trade, you will have to do war. After the countries like Britain, US, European Union, all those countries, after they have won the Second World War, they have got one easy terms. For example, they can promote trade. They can promote trade easily. Why I am saying this thing? Because by this time, US and European Union, all those countries around that region, they have got the domination in industrialization. They have got the domination in better industrial products. And newly independent countries, wanted trade, and that is why they started investing in the newly independent countries. And this was a period when the tariff were substantially reduced. And US was a pioneer in that. US was saying that please reduce the tariffs. And this was also a period of GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. This is called General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. Because by this treaty, it was done in 1947. With the help of this treaty, the countries like US and European Union have pushed for reducing the tariff, especially on the newly independent countries. They have forced the newly independent countries to reduce the tariff, and it was basically the trade in the goods. And this was the domination, and they have got the benefit. By the 1990s, a new era has originated. This time, emergence of information technology. Emergence of information technology, and also trade in pharmaceuticals. And also the trade in services. GATT was considering only goods. Now, again these two countries, have thought that now this is the era of information technology, pharmaceuticals and services. And that is why they wanted reduction in tariff in these also. See, this was a period when the services were restricted within the national boundaries. After IT revolution, it was easy to trade in services. And supremacy of trade in services, production of pharmaceuticals, services and all those things was with the US and the European Union. And that is why again they have started pushing for those agreements. And also it led to the origination of World Trade Organization. Yes, and here in 1990, especially 1995, US have promised that I am going to reduce tariff to zero, especially in steel and aluminium and other products also. And other products also. It was being promised by those countries because they were knowing that they are having supremacy, and by this they can promote trade and benefit themselves. So that is why they were promoting the reduction of tariffs in all those countries. And this agreement was limited to goods. WTO had done various agreements like for pharmaceuticals, TRIPS agreement, for services, GATT's agreement. So that is why they thought that it is going to benefit the developed countries only. But they were not knowing that this can lead to emergence of China. They were ignorant about the emergence of China. Why? Because China, with the help of providing better ecosystem for investment, like providing land for free, tax reliefs, and all those benefits, it had attracted the multinational companies. And China had got benefit also by the low cost of production. And in this duration particularly, by the end of the 1990s, China started emerging. China started emerging as world major exporter. China started emerging as world major exporter. Whether you talk about labor intensive growth, whether you talk about capital intensive, whether you talk about brain intensive, in all those areas China has got the domination. Now this was not being known by the developed countries. What they were doing here continuously, they were promoting the reduction of the tariff so that it can benefit them. But they were not knowing that the China will emerge as the greater power, and it happened that in 2014 Trump election, Brexit, Trump election and Brexit. With the help of that, now what happened? China has started taking domination, it started exporting the products to the various countries. Yes, and the US and the European Union were not able to get the benefits. And that is why since 2014, after the Trump election, Trump was continuously considering the method so that it can reduce the trade with the developing countries. This was the era of globalization. Globalization started at a very fast pace after 1940s, and after 1990s its pace was much higher. But by 2014 it started challenging the existence of the developed countries only, and that is why in 2018 Trump has started trade war. Trade war. What is trade war? We will discuss in the coming lecture. In the simple terms, US wanted to promote the domestic industries development, to promote the domestic jobs, and that is why US has increased tariff on steel and aluminium which is being exported by China. This is called trade war. This is a kind of trade protectionism. We will start the discussion from trade war only, but please understand what kind of questions can be emerged. See here, this was the time when the trade by war has converted into trade war. Till 2014, developed countries watched that they are going to be the major rulers, but after 1990s they were not knowing that China will emerge. They were continuously pushing for the reduction of tariff, and they have promised also in 1990s that they will reduce the tariff to zero. But in spite of those promises, in 2018, if Trump have increased the tariff on the Chinese product, that means Trump is not following the WTO rules, and this has again questioned the existence of WTO. WTO, where the control of the US and European Union have been major, it is being now challenged. Why? Because the emerging economies like India, China, Brazil, Turkey, South Africa, they are becoming the champions. And now the globalization, the champions of globalization is the developing countries. And that is why they are trying to roll back. And that is why the question has emerged that whether WTO will be able to survive or not. Why? Because these countries have lot trust in WTO. They don't want to promote trade through WTO, because if the Trump and other countries are increasing tariffs, this is antithetical to the philosophy of WTO, because WTO works on free trade, reduction of tariff. So this was the time when we had seen that how trade by war have changed to the trade war. Rest we are going to discuss in the coming lecture. Thank you so much.